Yo, what's up guys? Brendan Wolf here, bringing you a video about the next patch, 13.17, right around the corner. Let's jump right into it. So usually I don't do the patch reviews too often unless it has to do with top lane and Fiora, but there is a little bit going on here that I find interesting. I think there is a little bit of a Fiora buff here, but also like a nerf kind of, not really, but I think this is the last time that we're going to see top lane get touched basically for the rest of this season. So we're looking at the buffs and the nerfs. Obviously, we've got a few top lane buffs with Gnar and Tryndamere, which are both lanes that are kind of tough for Fiora. One that's a little bit concerning is the Tryndamere buff, how they're increasing his auto attack range. We'll see about that. I mean, that is a pretty big buff if you ask me. Attack range is a crazy stat. The Gnar buff isn't too crazy, just a little bit more damage. The thing that I really want to jump into, so obviously I'll come back and look at these nerfs here and stuff, but what I really want to look at is these right here. Goredrinker and Stridebreaker. They're both getting buffed. Now, there's no catch to it whatsoever, it's just a buff. Goredrinker is getting 100 more HP, and Stridebreaker is getting 75 more HP. So Stridebreaker is a pretty niche item. It's very skill expressive, it's very strong, honestly, and one of the biggest downfalls of Stridebreaker is the fact that it feels like once you get to like 4 items, instead of scaling, you're actually really squishy and very weak. So the 75 HP, I mean, it's a little something to make you feel a little bit more tanky, so it's kind of nice. Goredrinker, on the other hand, has been probably the worst mythic on Fiora for a little while now, because you got Triforce got buffed, Divine's always been good, and then Stridebreaker is just the better whip item. Now, adding 100 HP actually makes this a little bit interesting because Divine got nerfed, and it's not performing as well as it was prior, and Goredrinker's right below it. So there's a video that's coming out that you guys are going to see after this one that is about the top 50 Fiora player OTPs in the world and the mythics they buy, and even on those stats, Goredrinker did have the lowest win rate, but it was very close between Goredrinker and Divine. Like probably, I think it was 3 or 4% difference in win rate, somewhere around there. So it's very close. Now, is this buff for Goredrinker going to make it viable again? I'm still going to say no. I'm going to say that maybe into all melees, it becomes a much better option. But with how good Triforce is right now, it's just the go-to. And then Divine is the classic. Build Divine and you'll be fine. And it's also a Bramble Vest counter as well. I feel like I have not been buying Goredrinker whatsoever. I do think this buff actually makes it the new niche item. As in, when there are a lot of melees, you've got like a Nautilus or Leona support, and you got a Zen in the jungle and another melee range top laner. When there's 3 or 4 melees, I can actually see some value in Goredrinker again. I actually think that Goredrinker is back. Goredrinker has slowly been sneaking its way back up to being valuable again. It's had really minute buffs over and over again for a little while. I'd say it's been like a year and a half, and I think we're finally getting to the point where we could actually see this item being bought again into multiple melees. Now, something that's also really interesting is this Spear of Shojin adjustment. So it's getting 150 more health and losing 5 AD. Now, the passive is changing a little bit here. So the Dragon Force 8 plus 8% bonus AD is changed to 16 plus 4% bonus AD. So this is technically a buff until 200 bonus AD. Now, bonus AD, it's not your base AD. So what is 200 bonus AD? 200 bonus AD is like, you know, we get Stridebreaker for 60, we get another 60 from another item, another 60, another 60, and then we're there at the bonus AD, right? So it takes a while. So what does this mean? It means that this is technically a really nice buff. Now, Fiora typically hates losing AD, even if it's only 5 to go from 65 to 60. But to gain 150 HP and also have its passive buffed, typically the only champions you would see building Spear of Shojin were Jax, Renekton, champions like that. Now, Fiora was building Spear of Shojin, but it was typically only when she was very ahead or for 4th item. This adjustment, in my opinion, changes Spear of Shojin to a way more popular item for Fiora. Shojin was already pretty good on Fiora when you were ahead. It was a nice snowball item. It was a very strong 4th item. Now I think we have a little bit of a competition on that 3rd item slot. Now I think that you're going to get your Mythic or Ravenous first, and then Mythic or Ravenous. Those are basically your first 2 buys, no matter what, when it comes to Fiora, because Tiamat is a required 100% item, and then you want to get your Mythic, obviously, as well, because, you know, the longer you stall it out, the worse that it gets. Now, Hullbreaker has just been the go-to. It's very powerful item. I mean, it's like 125% gold efficient, and then once the levels come through, because I think it gets to its max resistances at level 13, I believe they changed that. And so when it has its max resistances, because it scales with level. I think it's like, oh my gosh, it's basically like 200% gold efficient. The item is absolutely insane, especially for Fiora. Spear of Shojin works much better in a team fighting atmosphere, especially to bring those cooldowns down for your Q and your E to keep you just bouncing around the team fight. So I think that Spear of Shojin is actually the new team fighting third item pick in 13-17. Now, if you decide that you're going to split push, then obviously it's going to be Hullbreaker. But I think the only other options are going to be in very niche situations where enemy might be full AP and you grab Maul third, or maybe they're full AD and you grab Death's Dance third. But other than that, I think it's going to be a battle between Spear of Shojin and Hullbreaker. I think that this change here actually makes Spear of Shojin really good. So if you want to split push the whole game, you think your team has good disengage and your enemy's not going to be able to dive them, Hullbreaker might be the play. And then if you think that, hey, I'm going to be team fighting a lot more in this game, well then Spear of Shojin is probably going to be the play. So I'm really excited for that, because you know, anytime there's more flexibility or variety, creativity to the actual builds, it makes it a lot more fun to play the game. So that's really cool. Something that I want to bring up now, this is completely different. This has nothing to do, well, it does actually. This is about the junglers. This is why I don't think that we're going to be talking about Fiora or top lane for the rest of the season. I don't see top lane getting buffed or nerfed for the remainder of the season, and I also don't see Fiora getting buffed or nerfed for the rest of the season. So something that I do want to bring up is that we're having a lot of nerfs to junglers. So Kayn is getting nerfed, Kha'Zix is getting nerfed, Kindred, Naafiri, I mean, she kind of jungles, not really, but this is all getting changed. We're seeing some adjustments to champions like Hecarim and Vi and Xin, and also the catch-up XP. Jungle catch-up XP is changing as well. I think that they're going to focus a lot on supports in jungle for the rest of the season. So they've made statements before about talking about nerfing jungle, nerfing support. And there's also a clip of Freak talking about his thoughts, and I'll just let us watch this here. And he is on the balanced team as well.
Are some of the jungle changes going to go through? I know the role has a lot of impact in the game, but don't want it to be greatly nerfed. Like, I think just like factually, the role has to be greatly nerfed. As far as like we can measure, it's about 20% stronger as a role than other roles. Like, if we literally nerfed like the overall power of jungle by 15%, that would be probably about appropriate and fair.
So you heard it here first from Riot Freak. Well, I mean, unless you were watching the stream, I guess you heard it there first. But I think this is the last thing that we're going to see for top lane, which I think that Fiora will remain an S tier, very above average champion for the rest of the season. So there's no better time to start playing her than now, if you haven't. This is good news. This is good news. We're seeing Goredrinker get put back in. Stridebreaker's looking great. Spear of Shojin is now a actual viable third item buy instead of fourth. And yeah, and I don't think we're going to see anything else. We got a few more patches, and then Worlds is coming around the corner. Best time of the year, in my opinion. I love watching Worlds, and I think they're going to really dial in on jungle and support until that time. So this is good news for us. This is awesome. Fiora players rejoice. We get a little bit of a buff on the next patch on 13-17. And that's the 13-17 review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much as always. Until next time, peace out. Love you. Bye-bye.